Once carb and manifold flange is set, reassemble, we've done that, make sure the gasket's in place, there's a gasket in front. Always start with the outside bolt I just mentioned. Always start with the outside bolt first, which is, I'm calling it this one, then move to the inside. And 100-inch panels are close. If there's some really good friends of mine that are in karting, I can't give them anything more than a 1/4-inch drive ratchet because they want to just over-torque everything. You don't need 3/8 drive or 1/2-inch drive. Do it by hand. Don't over-torque it. You'll be just fine. All right, rocker cover, guys. Everybody's got an opinion. You guys have been around racing, I'm sure, some more than others. Everybody's got an opinion on the best way to set it up. Same kind of thing that I've been helping at Cycle Land, helping guys make some adjustments, and they said it woke it up. It woke it up. What a difference it made. Conventional wisdom in automobiles say run more lash on your exhaust than you do on your intake. Conventional wisdom's out the window here. Briggs made a cam that's going to work optimum on this one. It's going to start opening at the 20,000. There's different measurements. 20 thousandths for a racing engine. We always want, if we're revving 9-10,000, we always want to retard the cam. The reason being is it would keep our valve overlap in it, but what it does, it moves the torque curve to the right. That's where we want to be. For these things, we've got a 6100 rev limiter in it. And one of my favorite things to do with any track, somebody says, well, Dan, can you build me an engine or give me some help with the track we're running? I said, sure, okay. First, send me over your data acquisition. I want to know how much time you're spending, and think about this for a minute. How much time you're spending between 3,000 and 3,500, and how much from 3,501 to 4,000, and then 4,001 to 4,500, so on and so forth. So if we're going to run a racetrack where we spend 88% of our times between 4,000 and 5,000, why are we going to tune this thing for 8,000? What are we going to do for ignition? Why are we considering that? What are we going to do for fuel? And remember, we want to be rich on the bottom. Why are we going to throw more fuel or less fuel at it? If that's my needle adjustment. If I'm spending all of my time in this slot of RPMs, why am I trying to build it valve lash by retarding the cam by putting a lot of valve lash into it? Valve lash is not your friend. RJ and I and the boys, we were talking here Wednesday. And I don't want to get too deep into it because it's the deeper you get into it, the more complex it becomes. But let's talk about valve overlap. Valve overlap is simple. These things will have both valves will be open at the same time, about 35 thousandths of an inch. So if you've ever started a car and heard something backfire through the carburetor, that's because there's valve overlap. If you put your hand with the air cleaner off, you'll feel that pressure going with the air cleaner off as it's running, pressure, because for a second there's some compression that's trying to blow out the carburetor until that intake valve closes, because they're both open at the same time. So here's the thought. Let's think about this for a minute. If I want to run a racing engine at 8,000, I want a lot of, and these are my, it's a single cylinder, these are my cam lobes. If I want to run at 8,000, I want more overlap, so less cam lobe separation, as we call it. Center lines, cam lobe separation. If I'm going to go, and I don't like to be too complex here, but if I'm going to run a 6,000 limiter, let me try a little more separation between my intake and exhaust lash. Without being too crazy. I'm not going to give you guys numbers because it's up to you, but this is really important. If you start playing around, try 2 on the intake. My intake is always going to be my narrowest volume, or my narrowest feeler gauge. So, God darn it, man, I can't remember what that was. Can you tell me? Exhaust. Exhaust is always going to be my thinnest of the 2 feeler gauges. I might go 0. I might go 0 on my exhaust. Or I might go 2 thousandths or 4 thousandths. Okay, I know that. But I'll probably go 6, 8, 10, or 12 on my intake. That's up to you. That's your experiment by putting that. But I tell you, as a starting point, if you started with 2 and 6, or 2 thousandths on the exhaust and 8 thousandths on the intake, your engine's going to like it. Because we've separated we took a little bit of valve overlap out of it. So if you're going to play around, where do I set it? I would tell you 2 and 6. 2 and 6 is a starting point. And if you said, you know what, I got a little bit of time, I feel like I got the chassis and the drivers on it, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try 2 and 10. I'm going to roll the dice. What do I got to lose? You might find out that you like it because we're making more power on the bottom end with cam lobe separation. Again, we can talk about cam theory for the next 5 years and probably never agree on it, but there is foundationally a concept there when you start introducing all of the components to it. This is another, I was talking with David Klaus. He says, you want to share with him the story of what happened up in Canada? Here's a guy that was running 9th, and he says, Dan, I'm dying here. I'm dying. Can you help me? I said, where do you have your valves? He told me. I said, mind if I play with this? He says, be my guest. He said, you can't make it any worse. I said, okay. And at the end of the race, as he's standing on the podium and accepting and this is not only because of this, but it made a difference. It was a great experience. He drove it from 9th. The seas parted, everything went his way, but he had the performance to get there because we experimented a little bit, put more lash in the intake side and less lash in the exhaust, and it helped him pull off the corner so much better because it was the bottom end of the RPM curve, not the top end. If I went 2 and 2, all I did is I let you use the same numbers that were already built into the cam. But if I went a little bit more separation, now what it does, it opens up the door. RJ, this is the stuff that you're going to believe. Guys, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And again, 2 thousandths on the exhaust. Here, you could go 0 on the exhaust. Let me tell you why. This depth, we've tested it many times. It's going to grow 4 thousandths to 5 thousandths of an inch. This cylinder will. So think about that for a minute. If that whole thing is growing 4 thousandths of an inch, and I've got 6 thousandths lash in one, because I was worried, everybody's heard the story, don't make that so tight you're going to burn your valves. Well, with all due respect, when that thing grows 3 or 4 thousandths or 4 or 5 thousandths, I can make it 0 and still have plenty. My thought is this: if I can start it up with enough compression to pull it over and start it, it's going to swell, it's going to grow, and now I'm going to be exactly where I want to be with my valve lash. So try 1 or 2 and 8, 2 and 6, 2 and 4, whatever you guys want. I would tell you, if you want to just go out and have fun, go 2 and 6. But when you're to the point you say, maybe I might be able to, I got a little extra free time here, I feel like rolling the dice. I don't think you're going to be disappointed by building a little bit more lash into the intake side. So 2 and 8. I won't get into other things, but there was a guy that was running at the Nationals and he says, okay, this is a different track, what do I do now? We changed it completely. We retarded the cam, but we kept the same cam lobe separation. So you can play with it all you want, but always remember that you want about 4 to 6 thousandths variation between the intake and exhaust. Or if you want to grow that a little bit, you can too. But play with it, you'll see an advantage, especially coming off the corner. And again, cycle land or even Revla, you're going to spend what, maybe a half a second at 5,500 on that lap, maybe a little bit less, something like that. My point is this: if we're going to tune it for 6,000, but we're not spending that much time there, play with valve lash. I think that you'll see something that's hugely positive. Any questions on that? I know I bounced all over a little bit. I have to be careful when it comes to this topic because every track is different. But Dan, you told me if I did this, I did this. Every track is different. And with what you guys are doing in your setup, as you know, when you go run cycle land, it's a different chassis setup than and maybe different axle, different whatever than you're going to run at Revla. So, and the engines are the same way. When the track varies, the way I set these engines up varies. So but that's up to you guys. You guys can do that relatively simple. Let's kind of to recap for a second. Anything in the carburation that anybody feels that might be too complex? Yeah, go ahead.
Float adjustment, big track, little track.
You know what?
Change?
What I would tell you if back to the RPM, how much time do we spend in that zone? If I spent more time in the RPM zone that would be closer to the rev limiter, I'd probably lean it out a little bit. Because the reason being is I could take my needle and compensate for the bottom end fuel, and that makes it really simple. So I can raise my needle and drop the C-clip, and that'll help me on the bottom end, but now I lean it out on the top and I got the best of both. And now let's go back to the valves for a second. If it's a top end track, I might go 4. And what was my 6,000 separation? I might consider going 10. Right? Because now I retarded a little bit, but I kept my separation. I got the best of both. I told RJ, and these guys aren't going to talk about that, but it's huge for you guys. It's huge for you guys in terms of that adjustment. You know what? I love this stuff. I want to help you guys be as fast as you can be, but I can't tell you exactly where that engine needs to be. It's up to you guys to experiment with what we talked about, and these guys were behind. I love QRC's attitude about this. We want to empower our racers to shorten their learning curve to make sure that they can have the best possible experience, and those are their words and not mine. They want to make you guys as fast as you can be, and they don't want to be the information mogul of sorts that, and you guys got to come to them. We want you guys to be able to make those adjustments. Let's face it, this is an inexpensive motor until people start selling snake oil and everything else, telling you what you need to do to go faster. And there's a lot of that nonsense going on out there. I think there's a kid that won the championship. His father called me up and said, "Hey, how do I adjust Alan?" What's his last name? Pellizzari. He called me. He says, "How do I make these adjustments?" I said, "I'll tell you, no problem." And we did it. They ran consistently. I know exactly. He says, "Will you do my valves?" I said, "No, but I'll show you how to do them." So I took the head off and looked at the bottom half, and guys, there's nothing that's been done to that engine. It's bone stinking stock, and that makes me happy because here's a family that wants to go run, and you guys as well. They figured out, how do I get the knowledge to make these things better? And it's not crazy, but it's minor adjustments that make it happen. So carburation, are we good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything regarding any other carburation questions or over here? We're good? Okay.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So you can't set the intake on the head now?
No, we cannot. The reason being is that it's alignment things that has to come from the factory. Let me tell you why. There's ways that I can vary that. That's a huge advantage. And I don't want to get into those, but if I studied it, I can start doing some other things as well on top of it. So where do we draw the line?
Okay.
So we stayed away from that.
Okay. Because I know it's hard to get those bolts back in on an intake manifold. That's why I was I know if you stud them, just do 10 millimeter rim.
Well, you can, but you know what I got to tell you? I just take a ball socket. It takes me, I take it on and off, and of course I've done a couple more, but in a matter of 2 minutes it's back together. Take that, put it on in a ball socket, it'll roll right back on. Buy yourself some of those, you'll be set. I understand what you're saying, but now what happens is some guys start playing around with angles. And what is, if we could do that, how do we make other adjustments? We just have to be careful on that we don't go past a certain limit line.